In this tutorial, we're going to go over the Users tab in the configuration menu. So go ahead and click your configuration button here, then click OK, and then click the Users tab. Right now, the default user, which has administrative privileges, and that just means that you can make changes to the software. The default user has no username or password. That's why every time the screen comes up after we click the configuration button, we don't enter anything because those fields are blank here. We're going to go ahead and apply a username and password to the default account in the DVR software. So click here in this area and it'll highlight in the color blue, and then click the edit button here, and now we can apply a username and password. I'm going to make admin the username, and then choose something memorable for your password. You have to type it twice. Then click save, then apply, and then OK. And now you're back on the main screen. And just to show you that the default user information has been changed, I'm going to go ahead and lock this so that now if we make any changes, the window's going to come up asking for username and password. Now remember, by default they're normally you normally leave the fields blank and just click OK. If I click OK now, it doesn't take me anywhere. It's rejecting the blank username and password because now there is no account with a blank username and password. We just we updated that information for the default account, so now you have to enter that information in order to gain access. So I'm going to type admin and then the password that I entered, and now I have access. Now you may want to add multiple users. You may want to add additional users, and you may want to allow those users certain privileges, and you may want other users not to have certain privileges. So what you would do in that situation, you would simply click add, and this allows you to create a new account. So you can create an account. I'll call this one employee, and then create a password for it. And here you can decide what privileges you want this particular user to have. You may not want them to be able to configure anything in the system, so you would leave that blank. You may want them to be able to start and record video or playback video, remote view. It's up to you. You can choose which privileges each user has or does not have. When you select remote view, you'll notice when I put the check in the box there, I have an option here to choose which cameras the user can view remotely. You may want, again, to use the example earlier from the video tab where you can check view to determine whether or not a camera's live footage is viewable in the main screen. You may want to impose that same limitation on a user when they're accessing the DVR from a remote location. You may not want them to be able to see certain cameras, see the live footage from certain cameras. So if you choose to give a user the privilege of viewing remotely, you can also determine which cameras they're capable of viewing from a remote location. So, just to briefly go over the different privileges, there's configure. Configure is going to allow them to click the configuration button in the main screen and have access to all these things we've been going over in the different tabs. They can essentially configure the DVR system. Playback, that determines whether or not a user can access the playback screen and playback recorded footage. Start and stop record video, that determines whether or not a user can do exactly that. Stop recording or start recording video. Exit system, that means that you're giving the person the ability to quit out of the DVR software and stop the software from running and recording for the most part. PTZ control, if you do have a PTZ camera, this determines whether or not this particular user can use the PTZ controls on the screen, on the main screen, to control the PTZ camera that you're using, or multiple PTZ cameras, depending on your setup. Remote view, we've already gone over that. And this here, there's a spelling error. This should be minimize system. It says minimize system. But this determines whether or not a user can minimize the DVR software and view the Windows desktop. And that's basically it. You just want to make sure, and I'm going to go ahead and save this information so that this new user is created. And you'll see here they show up in the list of the users for the DVR software. And you can continue to add users ad infinitum. And you just want to make sure that whenever you enter this information for a user, you click save. It's not going to create the user until you click the save button here. And then you click apply, and then you click OK. And that takes you back to the main screen. And that concludes this tutorial.